Yes, Jodi Kaus. Just a quick background. The first half of my career was as a professional financial advisor, and then the second half was in higher education, helping a large four-year public build and start their peer-to-peer financial wellness program. And then have retired from that and am now kind of doing this consulting work and helping other universities and institutions across the country with this really kind of proven method of impacting student financial wellness. I'm here in Manhattan, Kansas. Nice, cool day. In fact, it's not even probably in the mid 70s here, which is unusual for the end of June, going into the July soon, which is nice. But I hope that you've enjoyed today. It's really nice that all of these pieces that we're hearing from today can all be kind of combined and used simultaneously, from the competencies to the Intuit tools to the money conversations, and to now kind of another proven method that can really help make enormous impact. So I am the Program Implementation Director for Peer Powered Financial Wellness. We're a nonprofit, and really really focused in on this issue of student financial wellness. And I like to say this is such an important time for those students as they transition from that place of financial dependence to hopefully financial independence. And as we see continued increase in tuition costs, the support, education, and the resources around this topic are critically important. And it's such a key part of overall wellness. I think we think about mental wellness, physical wellness, and sometimes we don't cover financial wellness, which, as you all know, bleeds into those other areas of wellness oftentimes. So Caleb already touched on some similar data earlier, and so I'm not going to really cover all these points, but you as an audience know the barriers that students have with regard to financial wellness. So why is it that we feel like this peer-to-peer model of financial mentoring is so important? And we do feel like it's such a highly effective solution. Really, you can see it come to life where an individual, a student, becomes sort of that mentor, that healthy relationship for role modeling financial decisions for another student. And it really improves sort of the access ability of that topic. You know, sometimes they might feel like going to a professional or going to a faculty member or somebody like that might be intimidating. It might be something they don't feel comfortable really talking about. They don't want to look like inferior or less than as far as this topic. So that's obviously one of the reasons, but it's very scalable. As you look around to students that you know how capable they are. You know how they're ready to take on the world. Everything, the world is their oyster. They want to do it all and do it well, and they can be with proper support, proper training, proper assessment of the outcomes, and all of those pieces that we integrate together. And there's obviously a lower cost to this model as higher education is being stressed with budget costs and reduction in tuition support in those areas. So utilizing student employment versus maybe full-time professional support to do this kind of work is also another effective reason. So we just feel like this is something that everyone should be looking at as a really great method. The benefits also, though, go both ways. So not only is the student mentee benefiting, but the students who are the mentors receive extensive benefits from participating in this type of a program. So I think that most universities right now are really honing in on what are some of those high impact service learning or hands-on or job related types of experiences that they can offer to their students to really show value. And this is a program that definitely does that. It develops a lot of very important skill set in the mentors so that they can become better current student employees, but also better future employees and more attractive hires to the corporations and businesses and entities that are hiring the students from your university. As you know, some amount of small part-time work can make a student more productive academically as well. They need to focus in on time management and when are they going to focus on their academic priorities and when are they going to have a little job that kind of provides also some networking opportunities, some experience, some of those opportunities. So this financial capability being positively correlated with student success is seen both ways. Um, AI, is really coming, infiltrating so many areas, but these are some skills that AI cannot replicate. Those soft skills that the mentors develop around communicating, problem solving, leadership, all of these different areas that employers are seeking in their employees are skills that students will practice and learn and develop and hone by being a pure financial mentor. So I want you to kind of think of it as both developing these students as future professionals in whatever career path that they're interested in. It may be not financial services, but maybe they want to go into social work, or maybe they want to go become a teacher, or they maybe just want to go into a helping profession like nursing. Those skills transfer very readily to any of those types of professions. Really, we want, though, you to start thinking about this kind of opportunity as something that can really support the success of the institution overall. So we've mentioned in earlier presentations the importance of retention, student success, and this speaks to that in very, very effective ways. So making sure that students are supported through their student financial wellness needs can have those impacts that universities are seeking. And as we look and partner with other universities, one of the first things that we want to do is say, hey, what is the strategic plan that your university has in place, which should be the higher or kind of the highest level of priority and kind of what gears and steers everything at the university. And within those strategic plans, we definitely can see how this can fit and align with the priorities that the university has set forth and reiterated as being their priorities. I think another key thing is also to make sure that from the very get-go, this is a student-driven initiative. So we want student voice, student involvement, student leadership involved in every piece of this, building this type of a program. And so as soon as the university identifies that they are interested in developing these programs, we will want to help figure out who are those student leaders that need to have a voice in what this could look like, whether it's the student government, whether it's some of the student organizations, or maybe there's student living groups, fraternities or sororities, scholarships, houses, or those kinds of things. Also non-traditional student voice, any of the different demographics or backgrounds of the types of students that are at the university can participate and should participate in what this program would look like and how it would support the other students on campus. So some of the key things that the university you should voice to the university as being a priority that they have, that this also can address, is the retention and graduation rates and reducing that financial stress. So when I was at Kansas State University for nearly 15 years, we had embedded research and assessment through everything that we did. And we saw over a long period of time outcomes evidencing that this peer mentoring did have an impact on the reduction of financial stress. So we talked about that earlier and how important that is in addressing the needs of students and their wellness and making sure that they can then in turn focus on what they're there for, which is to study and be prepared for their careers. Supporting their mental health, many universities are seeing that kind of their return on investment, that families, parents, they want to know that their student is taken care of. That's probably the most important thing on a parent's mind when you send your student off to their university is, are they going to be taken care of? And this can speak to that in large amounts, saying that, if you can address any concerns that come up immediately with regard to their finances, that can help in other areas of their wellness, their physical and their mental, et cetera. And also just driving sort of that alumni affinity to your university. if I had a penny for every time that one of our alumni came to me and said, "Gosh, I wish we'd had that when I was there at the university," I'd be a wealthy woman. But it is very important, and it can drive future donor dollars back to the university to see that your alma mater is taking care of its students in this way. So I think there's many things that you can speak to that this program would be able to address with regard to your priorities at your university. So let me just kind of walk through real quick how this kind of program would work and kind of the pieces of the process. We really want to have a really broad groundwork of effort before you even start working directly with the students as being peer mentors. So you want to understand, what is that institutional impact that you're going to be looking for? Are you going to be looking for a reduction in just financial stress? Are you going to be looking for an increase in retention rates of certain cohorts of students that you're touching? Are you looking for a reduction in borrowing? What are those kinds of institutional impacts that your program's going to want to and need to measure? Make sure that that is built in from the beginning. You want to get a groundswell of support around this initiative and a cross section of support. So we usually like to help craft a steering committee for you at your institution to make sure that there is a body of individuals that are all contributing to the vision of what a successful peer mentoring program will look like. So you may have somebody from your graduate school program, from your athletic department, from your academic uh, mentoring or your tutoring, from your student success, any of the areas that you feel like this is really going to impact. First year experience, obviously, first generation student office, if you have such an office, anything like that, they can participate on the steering committee. And also making sure you have a student on the steering committee. So maybe a graduate student, maybe an undergraduate student, maybe somebody with a special interest. A student who has special needs may be an important voice on that committee. And then also making sure that you're going to have successful launch, successful sustainability. You want to make sure that you're engaging your institutional advancement area or your kind of plan giving or gift giving division, so that they can start working with you on identifying key partners that are going to help sustain this. We really are looking at this as a model where we can find partners that align with the university, and then hopefully there won't be any original cost to the university, but then as the program grows, we can help craft what those strategies look like to find sustainable long-term partners for the program. So once you sort of have that period of preparation and gathering all the important parties and understanding the needs of the institution and how this is going to address those needs, we look to starting that peer mentor kind of onboarding process. So the recruitment of peer mentors looks different at different campuses, and what depends on what kind of a campus environment you have. But I really do feel like any student can do this work, as long as they have a prior or a priority of helping others. I think you really do have to have a real desire or interest in helping others. But other than that, it could be any academic program. It obviously aligns most closely with academic programs like personal financial planning, if you have such a program on your campus, or finance or accounting or economics or ag business or ag economics, or social work, or consumer science educators, any of those kinds of academic majors. And I think the more diverse majors you get in the program, the better, because you can then connect back to those academic leaders in those programs to gain future support and to sustain the program and to voice the need on the campus to raise this issue as a priority across the institution. So looking at your range of academic programs and finding those aligned programs where you're going to be able to recruit the peer mentors from. We have a process down with regard to, we think, a very strategic training process for the peer mentors. You want this to be something where they feel like they're really gaining a lot of personal experience as well. So robust tools that you can look to, and including, of course, the Intuit tools that are available, the Cash Course, Hefwa tools that are available, and using the systems on your campus. And I'll talk a little bit about those here in a minute. But there's lots of things that you'll want to make sure you're partnering with to sustain the program and building sort of that pipeline. Along with your peer mentors, it's also very beneficial sometimes to have just a standalone student organization, a registered student organization on the campus with the priority of student financial wellness. So it could be called your financial wellness ambassadors, for example. And those students might be tasked with more of the marketing side of the program or putting on some of the financial events, maybe not so much the content and the delivery of content that the peer mentors will be trained in. But oftentimes, even a freshman coming to campus wants to get involved right away and start building that resume. And they might want to join a student organization to represent helping their fellow students with their financial wellness. And then that group of students can be the teacher pipeline. So you can recruit future peer mentors directly from that student organization because you've already gotten to know sort of their work ethic, their interest, their passion for this, and can encourage them to maybe later apply to become a peer mentor and kind of take it up to the next level. And I think in my idea, the sky is the limit. You can have as many of these ambassadors as you desire. So perhaps you want to identify a financial wellness ambassador or a student representative in every dorm on your campus, or maybe even on every floor of every dorm in your campus, which may be 100 students, but why not? Why not have somebody that has a sign on their door in the dormitory saying, I'm the official financial wellness ambassador, where other students that they are living amongst know that there's somebody in the area that has some additional training that can connect them back to resources that can support them in their financial wellness issues. So they could then refer them over to the peer mentors if they need more additional support. Maybe you have a financial ambassador for every student organization, or maybe even the treasurers are cross-trained. The sororities or fraternities, they cross-train their treasurers to be financial wellness ambassadors so that they can make referrals over to the peer mentors to sit down and really delve deeper into their personal financial questions and concerns. So that training process looks like, content training, but moving into real practice of this. So some observation training where they have some practice sessions with maybe a friend or a classmate or somebody they know, may move on to then a real mentee, a real student that they're seeking mentorship, and they're observed while they're practicing, honing their skills. And then eventually they're independent enough where they can just work alongside of maybe, down the hall from the administrator of the program or a graduate student, but they're meeting individually on their own with their mentees. So there is a kind of a student progression with that, and what we call a gradual release of responsibility method, which is a research technique of how to build effective skills, is to kind of gradually release some of those skills over time to ensure that there's competence and growth and then full competency. Key, so important to this program is going to be, though, the assessment piece. I think Phil talked about this earlier, that some programs may not be sustained right now because they did not have any assessment to indicate real impact or to be able to voice that. I mean, obviously reporting is one thing. Reporting means how many numbers are you seeing? How many students are coming in for mentoring sessions? How many financial workshops are you putting on? How many students have become the financial ambassadors? That's all important. Impact, that shows impact, and that's reporting. But assessment really goes to, did this intervention of having a mentoring session change the needle on XYZ outcome that you're wanting to see? Did it reduce financial stress? Did it impact the student borrowing? Did it impact, eventually we'd like to see longitudinal or long enough data and connection back to university data to connect back to alumni giving or career paths or things that may occur after the student graduates, and see how this can impact them in their long-term financial wellness. So we already have tools that we've developed and built so that the universities that we partner with can have those assessment pieces already ready to go, and also making sure that this is IRB approved by your institutional review board, so that there is an above board authority saying that this is authorized research, and any of the outcomes or data could be then used in other avenues. So that's all sort of the how it works and what we're shooting for, and the kinds of things that we like to see as part of that overall process. So looking across your institution, I know you all use efficiencies and systems in place to help you be more efficient and to communicate. And just identifying these first few systems, you can see how this kind of program can easily be integrated and leveraged to really make bigger impacts. So the first system that you might have on your campus, of course, is your learning management system. So it may be Canvas, it may be Blackboard, it may be some other tool, but we, for example, will build that peer mentor training course within that learning management system for a couple of reasons. The students are used to using it. They know what it means. They understand the terminology of assignments and grades. And that's kind of how you could set up the peer mentor training, so that the training requirements are just assignments within this training course in their learning management system. Plus, then it allows the director or overseer of the program to see how they're progressing and what the good grades on those training assignments are amongst each of the individual peer mentors. So it just keeps everything in one precise location with good oversight and a good release of kind of the next steps of the process, tying then back over to some of the external systems that you might pull in to participate or use as part of the training. For example, Cash Course modules or Intuit modules, or any of the courses or anything that you think would benefit the peer mentors. Another system that I think is really effective and impactful for this type of program is to leverage your program if it's similar to SSC Navigate. So the system that a lot of times the academic advisors on your campus are using to advise their advisees and to keep track of their advisees. It can be, if your campus will allow it, utilized for this type of program as well. We've seen it be very effective for that reason. You can use it for scheduling, for example, to schedule all of the mentoring appointments through that. The students just go into that system and see that they can request an appointment to talk about budgeting. And then you'll have a place for the peer mentors to do their kind of case notes. So after they have their sessions, they can enter some notes. You can segregate some of that access into what is called a care unit. So not every administrator on campus would have access to those notes. So that keeps that confidentiality, which is very important to the topic of financial matters, intact. So there's a lot of techniques and things that we have crafted to make sure that this is effective, but also responsible. And then you can leverage the targeted campaign. So you might want to target, for example, students that are first generation students with a campaign and reach out and encourage them to make a mentoring appointment with a peer financial mentor. Also your recruitment tool. So if it's a CRM type of platform, for example, Slate, that you may be using to onboard new students or to recruit new students, you can set up some communications in there. For example, perhaps once a student has applied, that student gets sent an email to ask them what kind of financial or what other concerns they might have before they come to campus or make a decision about coming to matriculate to your campus. One of the questions might be financial concerns. And if they check that box or indicate that they do have a financial concern before they even come to your university, you can reach out and be proactive and say, well, we have a robust peer mentoring program. We can help you to get connected, make an appointment, and maybe sit down and talk about your financial current concerns, go over your financial aid package, understand what it means to join a fraternity or sorority or to live on campus and pay the living expenses that are associated with that. So lots of exciting things that you can think of in tying this program to your CRM as well. Website, of course, you may have a website template for your university, and we have some very helpful examples of other universities and how they've leveraged their website template to create what we call sort of the toolbox of tools. So not only can they make an appointment with a peer mentor with a link on the website, but there may be some worksheets or handouts that they can download. Maybe one of them is your budgeting worksheet they can download right from the website. And then if they'd like to kind of self-learn or do that on their own before meeting with a mentor, that's available on that program website. But there's lots of other tools or systems. Maybe your student organization management platform could be the one that you use to manage your student ambassadors. Also your listservs to send out mass listservs to encourage certain types of students to come in. For example, closer to graduation, we would send out a listserv email to students that we knew were graduating, encourage them to come in and meet with their peer mentor to go over their student loan repayment before they graduated so that they could help answer some of those questions, really taking a big load off of maybe the financial aid professionals and the kinds of questions that they would typically receive around that time of year. So spend a little bit of time on that, but I think that you can see that there's so many really great tools on your campus already that you can look to help build out this program and that we can help support that with. So the training, we talked about that Canvas learning management system. The substantive training areas typically are around budgeting, budgeting for the semester, budgeting to study abroad, budgeting to move into an apartment, budgeting to pay for school and not over borrow, all of that important content. Credit management, understanding how credit works, credit scores, how to read a credit report, how to remedy identity theft, any of those. Obviously paying for school. So navigating higher education financing. So completing the FAFSA, looking at a financial aid package, understanding the types of student loans that are available, but also student loan repayment. That might be a topic that is not typically covered by the financial aid office on your campus. So your peer mentors could be trained to help educate students on what does student loan repayment look like? What are the different repayment plan options available? What is loan consolidation? Obviously, they're needing to stay in the education space, not tell them we think you should borrow this or we think you should take that kind of repayment plan, but no, what is that repayment plan mean? What is the definition? What is a student loan servicer? How you connect to your student loan servicer to look at your student loans and understand what the interest means. So more of an educational type of basis. Also job offers, employee benefits, that's another area you often will see the peer mentors help with, looking over, comparing two different job offer packages and the health insurance, the retirement plan, any of the additional benefits that students don't typically have with their part-time work that they're going to have out in their workforce and their postgraduate employment. So that's another topic. And then just making referrals to important resources either on campus or in the community so that they get connected to the support they need. So you'll want to supplement some of that education, obviously Intuit for Education and any of their tools, HEF1 Student Connections, Cash Course platform can be used to train them, and or you can create your own, or there's other providers out there that you can look to. But we want to then deploy that gradual release of responsibility by embedding practice sessions as part of their learning and training. So we recommend around 6 to 8 practice sessions, 2 where they just observe somebody else do this, 2 where they're practicing with a friend or somebody they already know, maybe 2 more with an actual student mentee that somebody is observing them and giving them feedback for, and however many else are necessary until they just feel really confident with it. Partnering. I think this program is something you can partner with so many areas of your campus. And these are just a few of the ones that are great partners. So your student government, institutional advancement, and any areas of future funding sources. The academic programs that you're going to be pulling the mentors from will be great partners. Other community entities, banks, financial institutions, insurance agencies, they would all obviously be interested in looking to help support and looking outside to other grants and foundations that can help support, and perhaps your state or region and anything that's available to provide future support for that. So that's really in a nutshell what we're achieving or hoping to help others with at Pure Powered Financial Wellness. I have a great team. Surinder Singh is our CEO and has a wonderful background and passion for this. Dr. Zachary Taylor is also our research and assessment expert in helping with those components. And Sarah Ray is also helping do senior consulting and helping connect with universities and standing up programs like this. So you can learn more about us at purepowered.org. We have a website there, and I have put my email up here at the bottom, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And if we have time right now, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you've put in the chat.